The main thing that happened to me is I had got a little caught up, like drove a Porsche, had my inner city house, and I was just so miserable.
Yeah.
Hey, I just felt like I was comparing myself against so many other people that weren't like me.
Yeah.
So I bought the farm, I built the little cabin, and it's 6x6, right? All secondhand furniture and stuff. I just went, I just need to get here. You know what I mean? And I met my neighbour, and he was real down to earth, awesome guy, and we just chat about life things, and there was no comparison about what you've got or what you're dressed in.
You're just drawn to it, eh? Like there's a reason. Everyone has their own reason, but it's usually because of you're dissatisfied or you're just not, it's not working for you, you know? It's just not, you just don't feel aligned with it. I felt the same when I was traveling, because I went through Europe and it was fun, but you know, I was real young and it was just a drinking, partying culture. And I just thought, I just want to get back to New Zealand and just go to the bush. I went down the South Island and I just lived in my car for 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
You know, doing tramps and hikes, and I just had such a good time. And I thought I want to sustain this, you know, so I want to have my own property. That gives me that same feeling.
Yeah.
Because I just love to be out where there was just nature.
Pretty amazing that you have this beach 5 minutes away from your house, eh?
Yeah, this is the main feature. This is the main event. This beach is so beautiful, and we're so lucky to have it so close by. Hi, my name's Michael. I live in Raglan with my wife Shaz and our baby, and I'm also the editor and publisher of On the Land magazine. So we were living at my mother-in-law's place in Auckland. We bought this property around 4 years ago, so it's been kind of a campground for that period, coming on weekends and doing some work whenever we could. We decided on Raglan because we'd always come here and I have family here, but we actually discovered this piece of land by accident just by driving through and seeing the for sale sign, and we fell in love with it and made an impulsive purchase, basically. I'm glad we did though, there are no regrets, because it's a beautiful piece of land. The Raglan community is just incredibly unique. Every time we go into town, we meet new people, and there's always something to see or someone to catch up with. So yeah, it's a really special spot to be. When we bought this land, we didn't really think about the build. That came later. And when it was time to start planning the build, off-grid was the only way we could do it. And it always appealed to me because being self-sufficient is something that is a big mission in life for me. The guy who sold us the land, who's also our neighbour, he had obviously subdivided his farm and inquired about getting power to the property. And it was in the realm of $200,000 from a power pole 300 metres away, which obviously neither of us could afford. So going off-grid was the only way. Oh, this is my castle.
Yeah, the nice place.
Yeah. So this is home now. We're loving it.
I love the vaulted ceiling.
That's something that we really kind of pushed for, because it just makes it a whole lot bigger. And yeah, we could have brought this whole area over, you know, and had a lot more space upstairs, but it's just such a nice feature having those high ceilings and being able to look through that high window over there.
So how did you start the process of choosing? Did you get an architect or?
We kind of did a hybrid thing. Like my wife actually did it. She's been the driving force behind this whole thing, where I've been kind of reluctantly shuffling my feet and worrying about money. She contacted they're kind of architects, but they're called Greenbridge Healthy Homes, and so they provide the plans and the specs for green homes, which are kind of semi-passive house.
Yep.
So this isn't a passive house, but it's pretty high spec, you know, obviously double glazed and extra insulation, and it's got wind and moisture barriers. And my wife contacted them and they sent us some plans, and we modified them and worked with them with our builder, finally kind of locked in a design, and this is what we ended up with.
And did you hire a local builder to build it?
Yeah, it was actually the guy who sold us the land. He owns the farm next door. He subdivided his land, and he's also an amazing builder and a great guy. And he's just done a fantastic job. Like, we're really stoked, and he's just such a great guy to work with. So all he had to do was jump the fence every day for a while, and he was on site.
Yeah. So the concrete floor, I think it's a good choice. I think I'd do the same, but the reasoning for the concrete floor?
It was actually a cost thing, because the timber floors are in the plans, but we spec'd up concrete and timber on piles, and the concrete worked out cheaper. Probably considering like polishing and grinding and all that stuff we have yet to do, which will be a long-term thing, it might end up working about the same, but it's so nice having them, and it's going to look great, and it's really solid. Like, you can tell when there's a heavy westerly, which there is often here, the house doesn't budge.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on piles, you can definitely notice it. We've talked to neighbours that say their house really shakes in a good westerly. So it's a really robust house, and I think the concrete floors have a lot to do with it.
And I think they hold their heat too, eh? They're quite a good thermal sink,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. That was the idea too, is to have that passive house aspect.
And your favourite part of the house?
After my wife's decorated, definitely the lounge. It's just a great place to wake up to and hang out. It's a real afternoon place because we're on the west coast. In summertime, we actually get the sun coming through the kitchen window because it rises so far kind of to the southeast. But it's definitely an afternoon house because you just get that full sun coming in and get the most spectacular sunsets you've ever seen. So
yeah, that beautiful view, eh?
Yeah. So this is the place to see all that.
Yeah.
And the loft area is pretty cool. Like, I'll just show you. It's got this old school kind of American style pull down ladder, which you just pull down, and that whole space would normally just be kind of an attic. But well, we're planning to turn it into living space and like a spare bedroom. At the moment it's just storage. It's like a huge area up there, and it's a really fun place to chill.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I can see you're prepared for winter already with the fireplace.
Yeah, that's a big one for this space, but we overspec'd it. So it's the Metro Fires, which, yeah, I've always been a big fan of that brand. And we didn't go for the smallest one, which would have been suitable because my wife and I are real hot lovers. She's from the Middle East, and yeah, I don't know, we just both love the heat. So we went for one that's rated for a 150 square metre house, and this is obviously 78, so it'll be good. Yeah, it'll be cranking in winter. We haven't had to use it since we've moved in, but yeah, we're well prepared for next year.
And is there any specifications you need to be aware of when it comes to buying a fireplace?
According to our resource consent, you still required a low emissions model, which we got, and it's got an eco-flue kit as well, so it's fully rated to be as kind of clean as they come. In terms of what the costs have been for the property and the build and the solar, I mean, we've managed to do everything incredibly economically. It's been great actually just working with really good tradespeople and people you trust who are going to keep costs down. The same goes with the solar kit. When I first started looking into it, you know, I could see a range of prices when you Google, like sometimes 50,000 for a system, which was out of our price range, but GridFree seemed to have products at all tiers, entry level, you know, the batch kit and everything. So I was looking at that and eventually decided on the Tui Solar Nest because it was really affordable at 21k or 22k, early 20s, which was within our price range and a massive drop compared to what else was available for the similar system. And the build itself, we were quoted 6,000 a square metre, but we managed to do it for 3.5 square metre, which was fantastic and definitely within our price range. There are quite a few ways we were able to keep costs down. I think the main one is asking around different suppliers and different tradies and subcontractors to see what they can offer, and you'll find the best quote, and that's exactly what we did. So we were able to get the best price on every material that was involved in the build, and our builder was really good too because he knows the business and he was able to get us the best deal on virtually everything. So that's always a good thing to do, is find a good builder that you're friends with, that you can really trust and form a good relationship with, and help out by doing a lot of the admin as well. So if people are considering the Tui Solar Nest, which is the kit that we've got, I would thoroughly recommend it. It's just a fantastic system. It's allowed us to do everything we want to do and have ample power left over. So we have never gone below 75% with our batteries, despite having multiple cloudy days and rainy days out here. It's well worth it.
So top of the property here, don't have too many issues with catching sun.
Nah, not on a day like today, and there's plenty of them. So yeah, no, we're really lucky. Like, when you get good weather out here, it's just, you can't beat it. But when it's bad, it's bad.
Good for the solar panels though, eh?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like, we have had zero issues. It's been just absolutely phenomenal. You know, we've had not like a whole bunch of sunny days, quite a bit of, you know, consecutive cloudy days and rainy days, but we've never had an issue. And I've checked on the kit, the batteries have never dropped below 75%. So, gosh, even with like 3 cloudy days. So either we're not using much or that system's awesome.
I think where your panels are, you've got no obstructions. You're generating as much as you can,
Yeah.
that'll be good.
Yeah. So I'm glad we did what we did and put them on the roof because it just made a lot of sense.
But the only issue you get with panels on the roof though is cleaning them, eh?
Yeah, I suppose so. We're going to have to climb up there, but the view from up there is even better, so
Yeah,
it's going to be all good. We haven't found any sacrifices. I mean, obviously you've got to be a bit more mindful, but I really like that because, you know, switching power off, you know, at the wall or turning lights off is actually a really good way to live because it teaches you to have an appreciation for this finite resource. Nothing is finite, you know, we all know that in this world, and every resource is precious. It's the same with energy. So that's been a really valuable lesson for me, but I don't consider it a sacrifice. I actually think of it more as a reward that you get to live this way and have a much more of a deeper connection with your resources. I have always been an advocate for solar and renewable energy ever since I first heard it was a thing. Definitely more so now, since actually living off-grid and being able to test these systems out and live with them. Yeah, I'm a real big fan and I'd thoroughly recommend it to anyone considering it. The experience working with GridFree was overwhelmingly positive. They were helpful, the team were helpful through every interaction, able to walk me through all the technical details, and my dad, who's a Sparky, called up Ethan and they had a good yarn about it. So yeah, it was just really accessible. It's great that you get to speak to people who know what you're talking about in the same position as you, and they're very relatable as well. You're not talking to a big corporate, you know who you're talking with every time. The tips I have for people aspiring to live off grid is to just do plenty of research, talk to as many people as you can and get inspired, because there are some incredibly clever, resilient people in New Zealand who are living off-grid and living really full, rich lives and can do everything they want to do, basically, that you could do in a grid-tied home, but they don't have a power bill and they get to be more self-sufficient. So I think it's an incredibly rewarding place to live, and it's just a matter of meeting people and talking to them and learning as much as you can and letting that inspiration guide you. Love coming down here, and it's got its own personality. Can be real, obviously sketchy at times, but it's just so beautiful. So really lucky.
It's all part of the off-grid lifestyle though, is to get closer to nature and actually be able to spend time and ground yourself in nature, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've never enjoyed living in a city. You know, it's had its moments, but I mean, you'll know, you're always kind of drawn, I guess, to living more rurally because it just has a better effect on your quality of life. You know, you feel different when you're there and you get to hear and see and engage with your senses and have silence or just have natural sounds, and yeah, all those things that come with not having so much stimulus. It's so beneficial, and I just feel like you have a better quality of life.
What started the dream to end up in a place like this, off-grid and 5 minutes from the beach?
But it's just been something I'd always thought about, as I think probably a lot of Kiwis do, you know, that live in the city or live in urban environments. You're always kind of looking out and thinking like, oh man, that would be nice, but I guess not many people actually do it. You kind of got to have some money or just be completely impulsive, and we were the latter. So we saw this property. We'd looked at property everywhere and just dreamed, and we saw this one and just put the offer in and thought, who cares, you know, this will be a great move down the line. We'll have to wait a while, but yeah, it's just amazingly beautiful, and that makes it all worthwhile. And the feeling we got when we were here just visiting was incredible, and that feeling has sustained since we've moved here. Off-grid living to me means being self-reliant, which is quite an appealing objective in my life, and working in what I do, editing this magazine which has a big off-grid and self-sufficiency component. Living off-grid aligned well with what I was doing for work. It all kind of sinks in together, which makes it fun because I basically get to live the lifestyle that I'm writing about and that I'm exploring when I interview and write stories about other people.
So when did the journey start with the magazine on the land?
Once I found this property and we bought it, I coincidentally saw this job came up as editor of New Zealand Lifestyle Block magazine, And it just, the way it described the job description was everything I'd been thinking about for years, you know, like share stories about people growing food, living off grids, doing everything that they're doing on kind of rural properties. And it just spoke to me, and I thought I must have this job. So I decided to buy it and take it on and put everything I could into changing it and making it my own. And I guess I saw an opportunity here in this beautiful movement. There's just a huge movement of people who are growing their own food, living off the land, practicing self-sufficiency, harnessing their own energy, and just forming better connections with the land and their resources. And I think that's such a beautiful purpose. I wanted to be a part of that, and I wanted to create a space that people could come and know they were part of a wider community, and that they could share knowledge and wisdom and inspiration. So that's my mission with the magazine. You know, there's this idea of digital fatigue these days where people want to have a break from a screen. And so that's perfect for me, because that's exactly what I'm kind of offering. There are a couple of tips in terms of achieving the off-grid life that you want. And I think for us, the biggest one is go live with your mother-in-law. If you can, and if you can make it work, because that's what we did. And we did it the hard way, in that we bought land and then we had to wait a long time to live on it. You can buy a piece of land, treat it as a campground, and you get the life that you want at the end of the road. So this is our experimental chicken area / refuse station. We're using all our recycled materials from the build to kind of smother the grasses and give our chickens something to forage and scratch through. The idea here is this is quite a sheltered part of the property, so we're eventually going to put garden beds and plant all around, so it's a little microclimate. And so the chickens are just scratching away at the cardboard and getting rid of the kikuyu, and eventually we'll have some beautiful fertile soil to plant into.
And hoping to grow your own food here, you think?
Yeah, I mean, not everything. We won't be able to grow everything, but we'll be able to grow a lot if we get shelter from the wind, which is the idea down here. We don't get a frost, which is a big plus. We obviously have really bad wind, but once we build up some shelter without that frost, we'll definitely be able to grow our kind of core vegetables. And what do you want to grow?
So I'm really keen to grow some tomatoes, lettuces, all that kind of stuff.
I see that a lot with off-grid people, as they grow a lot of fruit trees and a veggie garden, and they suddenly realise that they don't need to go to the supermarket as much.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Yeah, because it is quite a trek to the supermarket from here. So
I guess the idea is, though, like finding ways to use all our resources in the most efficient way possible. You let the chickens do the job, use the recycled material, even though it doesn't look too flash. It's not going to be like this forever. And eventually the cardboard will disintegrate and it'll go on that carbon layer into the soil, and the chickens just help it on the way. So it just saves us the time and saves us having to do a lot of the weeding. And the biggest change for my life since we've moved here is just having a connection with our land and having a connection with this landscape. So beautiful waking up here, and I guess everything being on site. I work from home, I operate my business from here, so does my wife. Our baby just loves it here. So we would never really go back to urban living and grid-tied living either, because it just really works for us and has improved our quality of life dramatically. When you own a piece of land, you kind of fall in love with it no matter what it looks like, because it's yours, or at least you're taking care of it and, you know, caring for it and kind of nurturing it. So everything about it is a feature to me. The thing I love most about this lifestyle is the quietness. For me, it's very peaceful out here, and we can hear the ocean, and that's so peaceful and tranquil. It's an incredibly spectacular view from where we are up on this hill. So that's why we bought the property in the first place. We were just enchanted by it. And it's not just the view of the ocean, it's the view in all directions, the mountain, even the neighbour's property, the bush, the horses. Everything about it is just a spectacle that we wake up to every morning.